Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to another session of IndieX 2022. It's my first one on this fourth day of this 2022 edition, and it's I could say that it's also I also feel very lucky when I start these streaming sessions because I love all these games, and I'm lucky to be able to talk with people that created such unique games. And the game that you're going to meet now, it's roller drama. I really believe me, you have never played anything like roller drama, and it's a pleasure for having Pietro Polsinelli with me and Vittoria Macioci. Welcome.
Thank you. Well,
Hello.
it's a pleasure for us, actually.
It's
And we're happy that you enjoyed the game.
a lot. It was one of those games that if everyone that is watching allow us to unveil a bit what's behind the curtain. I remember talking with João Machado from the organization when we played roller drama, and we were like, "Whoa, who created this?" Because roller drama is a mix between visual novel with a pretty characteristic, I would almost call it indie American comics art direction, and at the same time, sports team management over roller blade
Roller Derby.
roller derby. Thank you, roller derby team. So whoa, how did you get to this idea?
Well, there's so the idea of this, let's say, talk about sports um, in somehow trying to bring out their let's say poetic
Hmm.
and ritualistic aspect comes from a long way. So let's say 6 7 years ago I did this research on football, soccer the Americans call it, and the studies of Roland Barthes, who's a French
Hmm.
anthropologist.
Yeah.
And I thought that this the popular side of the sport, but also its poetic aspect and so on, was something that in classical football games was completely missing. And so we did a first experiment there. And I mean, we were very, let's say, naive as game developers, but some crazy people appreciated the that. And
I'm one of those
but
crazies, by
then
the way. Just tell you.
oh, great, one of the few. Thank you. And but then, I mean, it was also a perspective on a period, on a very, let's say, romantic period of football, which is in the past. And it was also let's say, very classical, let's say, males only male world,
Hmm.
which has its fascination, of course. But maybe I wanted to do something more different and also more linked to contemporary society, because sports and society somehow always talk. And by so I started looking at sports played also by women,
Hmm.
and I did a sort of review and looked at. By chance, after looking at many of them, by chance I stumbled on this very peculiar sport, which is flat track roller derby, which has some features which I really loved from the very start. First of all, it's a very indie-like kind of sport organization from below, and it's managed by the same people that play the sport. And this was one thing. And the other thing was that I found these few documentaries on YouTube about the women playing this sport, and they had very interesting personalities and biographies. And somehow this sport where you have, which is, it's a hard sport, so it's full of full contact
Hmm.
and a lot of pain and athletic preparation and so on. And so I found that this there were very interesting personalities there. And so I thought that this course could evolve into something different. Then I also found some interesting literature about, let's say, feminist kind aspect of the sport, inclusive aspect of the sport, and so on. And then I also I thought about working with Verena Kyratzes. I find her a humoristic, great game writer. And so we put everything together, and then we started working on the prototype. And then we searched for somebody who could express, let's say, this kind of indie spirit, and also the attempt, which may fail, of course, to have some depth in the story and the sport. And that's how we selected Vittoria.
But just to clarify, I was saying that I was one of the early crazies, but I was talking actually for roller drama because I was instantly conquered by what you managed. Not the old aristocratic all male vision of football, because that's luckily on in the olden days. Although I'm a football fan. Okay. By the way, you were talking about roller derby. Do you feel that we know that it's mainly an American sport that resounds to the American culture, but it's slowly diving and crawling into Europe? In Italy, do you feel there's also some teams popping up?
Yes, so you must say that this sport, of course, suffered also because it's not it's supported by the players
Hmm.
worldwide, so it really suffered a lot because of the COVID situation. So the games were basically suspended for 2 years, and so which is the exactly time while we were developing the game. So my idea was to go and watch matches and meet people, but of course in Italy we have a few teams. In
Hmm.
particular, I was trying to hook with a team in Milan, but they suspended gameplay. They also lost the the place where they were training, and now they're looking for a new place. So I mean, all sorts of things happened. Uh, but anyway, the sport is actually much more widespread than one may suppose. So it's an evolution of traditional roller derby, which came from, let's say, TV ads from the 60s, I think. But what we people playing today is flat track roller derby. So it's not with the
The
tracks
the
that
curve,
somehow,
yeah.
yeah, curved.
Okay.
And
Like
so
in
it's much easier to set up. You just need some a flat surface. It's cheap. You just have to mark the ground, and this made it much more accessible, and it's completely kind different sport and routes. So in the game we modeled, of course it's not a simulator, but it's a really partial porting of the routes, but it's we try to, let's say, transmit the spirit of the modern version of the sport, which is called flat track roller derby, and it's which is played not just, I mean, it was born in Texas, but it's not just played in US. It's also played a lot in Canada, in Northern Europe, in UK, in Sweden, in France also a lot, and now in Italy too a bit. I don't know in Portugal.
I know there were. I remember one of my nephews was playing in a team. I don't know if it still works because it's also a sport that has some logistical problems because it's not easy to find a place to play. Usually, it's a more, I don't know if in some places you might know this better than me. Not publicly accessed, maybe private what do you call it? The track private
Venues.
tracks. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, you're always dependent. It's not like, well, for Portuguese and Italian you can play football anywhere, but roller derby it's not like that. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It
Uh,
needs a really flat surface.
yeah, Vittoria, I just noticed that illustrators identify themselves with I just was
Yes,
hello, how are you?
you
So
are
it
my
was funny
yes.
to watch you using your glove. So
Yes.
your before working with the Pietro and the Rolo Drama team, were you already publishing? Your art direction, your trace reminds me a lot of indie American comics, and of course, take this please as much as possible as the best compliment possible because
It is.
your art is really amazing. Have
Thank you
you
very
have you
much.
done have you done comics before?
Yes. I
Yeah.
am much more a comic artist, let's say.
Okay.
I before engaging into this roller drama production, I already published two books with for the French market.
Of
I
course.
am super attracted by indie American comics, so what you say totally flatters me. But I am much more into French market, at least for now.
Like anyone in Europe that even
Yes,
has a small idea of trying to make money out of comics has to do. Uh,
sadly, yes.
I really wanted to go on with this conversation because I also almost every year dedicate at least two classes to my fine art students, talking about the European comics market, because comics, of course, is something I'm really close to, and I usually talk about the Italian market. And I always thought that your not the production market, because in terms of fumetti, is it fumetti?
Yes, fumetti.
Yeah,
Yes.
in terms of fumetti, always we've noticed lots of good writers and artists, especially with the Disney studios that basically
In Italy.
created everything that I consumed when I was a kid, and until now I still collect Italian produced comics.
Yes.
But I thought your consumption or you also had a good market to buy your own products. Do you still feel that the French market is the only place to go? Like Italy isn't enough to
Well, no,
make you
Italy
profitable?
is growing. Is growing with well, it's growing, but still, French market has it's really something cultural. Sorry for my voice. It's something bounded with the culture of comic, and I think that French market is very bounded with this idea, this friction of comics and art and images, pictures everywhere in France. Well, we lose that a little bit between the 80s, 90s, 2000 in Italy. We lose this bound that we had with the images, with the art in general. We tend to, I don't know what happened, but we tend to associate art only on that artists, which is kind of sad. But we are growing little by little. We are joining the French vision, the French way of graphic novels. Also, it's something that we had lose a little bit, the graphic novels. We were more into
Album
series.
and
So yes,
or albums
exactly.
for the French market. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm-mm. So now we are racing, thanks to the racing of the graphic novel.
yeah, yeah,
Before we had, like you say, the Disney, Bonelli. There's
yeah.
more serious, more based on characters or words, like the Duck City. I don't remember the name in English for the Disney
Duckburg,
series. Yes, and
Patopolis in Portuguese.
okay, Paperopoli in English.
Or
Um,
what's the name? What's the name of Mickey? What's the name of the magazine?
Topolino.
Topolino, sì.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mickey,
That's it.
yes. Or
That's
yes,
it.
characters like, for example, Tex or Dylan Dog in the Sergio Bonelli publishing. So we were more like consumers in the American way, with issues, monthly issues, etc.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this lose a little bit the power, and it was more conceived little by little. It has been conceived more like a something consumeristic and less artistic, while the album in like in the French market, the graphic novels are have much more of this artistic
Yeah, you have
meaning inside.
the artistic aura. Like
Yes,
Ugo
exactly.
Pratt is not the same as Bonelli production.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, Pietro and Vittoria, doing in the X is something crazy in itself, as you might imagine. But it's this kind of conversations that I'm always looking to each single year, because we never know by talking with creative people all around the world with different backgrounds, how this would go. We started, and I was going to tell you, I wasn't expecting someone to quote Roland Barthes in an IndieX session. So thank you for that. And then again, going and diving into the fumetti market, both in terms of production and also in terms of how consumers look at the production in Italy. For me, it was always an influence, because your comics market is pretty far away from what Portugal ever was. And yeah, I'm just going to tell the production, we have nothing next to this slot. So if Pietro and Vittoria doesn't mind, because the conversation, as someone was saying in our chat, is really awesome, and we also want to talk about roller drama, which we didn't do, or actually didn't showcase for the last 20 minutes. We might extend this session a little bit, because there's an open slot afterwards. So don't worry about it. If you don't mind, we can just
fine for me.
No problem.
Okay.
Talking about our own stuff is like our ego is getting bigger and bigger.
And talking about or having a conversation about your own stuff, let's probably dive into roller drama. That's what brought us today, and it's an amazing way to carry on our conversation. So roller drama. Wait. Yes. So, like I was saying, if our viewers didn't check the trailer, this is, I was saying, Vittoria's art style really dives into this contemporary indie American comics, that amazing graphic novels that have been coming from this sub market, if you want to call it. Vittoria, do you want afterwards to promote your previous books? I think it would be amazing, and I probably would like to buy one if I could get it autographed. Okay, just want to leave this here.
I will provide you autographs. And
production.
Yes, it's the name is Gravity Level, the French name, and it has been published by Sarbacane, Edition Sarbacane.
Okay.
And
do you have it there? Can you show the cover, maybe?
It's into. I have to find it.
Okay. You weren't expecting this.
I didn't thought about that. Yes. The only thing. Yes, I don't know how to say. Yes, so it's a sci-fi comic. It's a coming of age kind of comic. The original title that we thought, with Lorenzo Palloni, the writer, it was The Desolation Club, and it was a how to say that? It was an inspirated. What?
Sorry, I was talking to the production. Sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yes, and it was and it's inspired by Breakfast Club, so it's really the passage from the teenage years to the adult. So it's about disillusions. It's about yes, growth in general, and it's sci-fi because all this happens into a group of between a group of teenagers that lives in a world without gravity. Suddenly, there's no more gravity, and so an apocalypse happened. Everyone disappeared in the space, and few people survived inside the Earth. And those teenagers, this group of teenagers of friends, they live in the ground, let's say that the society starts to be very how to say that, very tough after an apocalypse with less resources than before. Of course, society stands to become more tough. and so they
Okay.
they want to escape. They will escape, finding legends about spots of gravity here and there. So that's all. It's an adventure.
By the way, I have
It's
to
an
tell
on
you,
the road.
there was
Yeah.
something I felt when I started playing roller drum. I don't know if you,
Yeah.
if you feel it like I did when, or if it was on purpose. You know what kind of the connection I feel with the characters among themselves. It reminded me with the connections and the struggles with the cast from Glow. Do you know that Netflix series about
Oh yeah.
all female wrestling league,
Yes.
amateur
Yes.
league in the
Absolutely.
80s? I felt this kind of connection, like the characters aren't only athletes, they are far more than that, and you are also uh, building the game around their feelings and the
Yes,
connections they have amongst
absolutely.
themselves.
And what
Absolutely.
I loved about this game, it's the fact that it comes from the, how to say that, normal people play this game. They are not just athletes. It really is played by everyone, and what it's most important. I wanted to canalize that into my characters. The fact that their personality prevails more than the physics and the fact that they are um, effectively athletes. They are not just athletes. They also are persons, and what I think it's appealing about this game.
And the fact that you evoked a series, that's actually very, very relevant to how we wrote also the story, the characters, and the game. In fact, now in the demo, so for narrative games, it's always a bit problematic to have a demo,
Hmm.
because as this is a sort of a sitcom story.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all in the same house, and they are this close set of characters, and that's very intentional. In fact, there are some series like Crashing and Fleabag, which have
Yeah.
been
Yeah. Yeah.
very strong
Yeah. Yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah.
Crashing is clearly a
Completely,
direct
yes.
inspiration of the writing. But so what Vittoria was saying about the characters, in fact, there are
Sorry,
two
Pietro.
things.
It's this. I wasn't expecting to a reference for. It's an amazing series, by the way. Really well written, and yeah, now you pointing this out, and I can see that. I don't know how I missed it. You know.
Great. And
Completely.
so of course, and also the fact that Phoebe, the writer of Living Crashing, is to say a tragic but also very comic author.
Yeah.
But what's unfortunate for the demo, but I hope that maybe you'll try the actual game, is that like in all sitcom and all series, the most interesting aspect of the characters and so on happen after the first very introductory episodes. So the game, in the introductory part that you see in the demo, you just get a hint, a suspicion of what may happen. But the comic situation where this kind of snowballing of disasters, which is a
Hmm.
typical British comedy, of that's our, let's say, the framework where I got the inspiration from, where like a little problem becomes worse and worse, and we have this crazy undead cat which everybody wants, and then there are situations inspired from all sorts of comic, from Scrubs, or from many series,
Yeah.
where
Or
I don't know
coupling
if you
by
remember
Stephen
the
Moffat.
stuffed dog in Scrubs
Yeah.
series and things like this. And there are direct many references there, and there are just chapters that go on, and you get familiar with the characters and so on. So this is what Victoria, I think, caught, we hope, caught in the character design, but it's also how the writing and the plot design has
Hmm.
been evolved. Uh, Apart from this, there is another dimension that comes into play, because in the game you may have seen also, again in the demo you don't see it much, but if you is that there is somehow a measure of the quality of relationship that you're exploring. So if you like, if you go in the part, and here you are in the inventory, but if you go in the part where the relationship between the girls is shown, so on the no, this is the team standing, but on the lower left. Yes, exactly. And if you go on the right here, yes. So here, and this is very important during the game, the relationship between you and the girls, and the relationship between themselves, and most importantly, if you go into one of the details, I think this shows really how the character design, Vittoria character design, is really amazing. For me at least. Anyway, so here you see the relationship with Joan. You see the level of self-esteem, which will change during the game, and the personal evolution phases. So these things are there. Again, we have academic reference. So it's a Polish psychologist, Dabrowski, and he's modeled based on, let's say, personal destruction of your own personality in the growth from teenagerhood to somehow adulthood. And
that's why we
and
start with this highly egotistical personality frame that you developed. Okay.
Yes. And so, which of course also is very, let's say, handy for having a comical aspect, of course, because all 5 of them at the beginning are quite self-centered, some of them more than others, let's say. and through the game, you can help them or not evolve through life phases and situations. Now, this may sound like a promise of a sort of open world of possibilities of story evolution and so on, but it's not so. It's not so. It's because this is a really, really small production. It's not 100 hours of gameplay. So basically, we guide you through a story which has choices and situations, but it's basically a single story. But in every gameplay, the relationship between them, how they evolve, and how you may get out of it, this may change. This will change every time, and so you still may go through it, but have very different outcomes in the personality that somehow they evolve.
Pietro, did you develop or write the game in a way that something that it's not easy in real life, which is to actually be able to balance every single of these relationships in a positive manner, or are they mutually exclusive? Like if you become more friendly towards a character, it inherently will make us have some conflict with another.
Okay, so we discussed this with Verena a lot, and we decided to be shamelessly, let's say, shamelessly positive about
Okay.
this. So we, because there is this fact of, because this game is clearly talking about our life, a contemporary society. Okay, it's not in any way. So in a way, and usually in this topic, there is this fact that only somehow a sad or negative, or let's say an introvert or something, which in many indie games there is this fact of hopeless future or things like this. That's why we decided, no, this time in this game we're gonna, if you manage to reach the end, we're gonna push and for somehow the possibility of a positive outcome. And so, and also we didn't have the means to have, let's say, actually a hugely branching kind of narrative.
It was
And
easier
so
for do everything in parallel and not intermingled.
Yes, and so it's shamelessly, let's say, at times I would say even a bit moralistic, but I think we went light a bit. We hope we went light with it, but so there are basically three possible outcomes, but of course you may reach them in very different kind of relationship. But it is possible. Is it possible to have a? I mean, I'm not sure if it's possible to have a perfect score. So what you're saying, but it's surely possible to have a close to perfect score. Yes. Why not?
I was just checking how my answers actually reflect on Portia's self-esteem, because I was really harsh towards her.
Okay. and so in fact, so one of the let's say one of the problems that we notice in testing the game, and so one thing is that the basic problem of games is like the game design, the mechanics, and so on. But I think one of the great problems in developing games is the clarity to the user about what is happening, especially when you're creating games that have never been done before. So you're innovating there. This may confuse the players a lot. So what we did there, we created this notion of score, somehow that everything that you do, every choice, every kind of evolving relationship, even winning and losing matches and so on, that will somehow contribute to your overall score. And you can always go read it and see how the score changed through your achievements and everything that you've done in the story of your game. So I hope this will, because we are putting together many different things. That is quest solutions, solving quest, talking, dealing with girls, making compromises, and so on, and at the same time managing a team, the sport, and so on. So we fear that this would be confusing, but we hope that by putting it all together in an overall result and showing the history of that result will be understandable for the player.
How is your roadmap in terms of release? Do you have a specific objective in mind?
Yes. The game is basically finished. We have one dialogue to insert and then do the translations. With respect to the demo, we created a new tutorial in the match because there are 3 tutorials in the match because there are many problems there. The sport may be unknown, it's confusing, it's fast, the controller mapping, and so on. Okay, but apart from that, we are basically miraculously on time. And so the game will be released between January and February of 2023. So next January and February, and it will be out on in Steam, Switch, also Steam Deck. It works perfectly there already, and I think it could be a very good game for a Steam Deck because of how the matches play. Right, at least I hope, and also on mobile, on Apple devices and Android. And then we're developing the PlayStation porting that will come out a couple of months after that.
Are you aiming for Xbox?
It will be out in 8 languages. Sorry?
Are you aiming for Xbox too?
We'll see. Going on the Xbox without Game Pass, for us is a bit expensive, so we're not sure there's a market. If you're not, so we'll see. We surely have a contact there. We'll try to we hope that if the games start going well, maybe they will accept it on Game Pass. But they didn't. We did apply, and for the moment they don't want it.
Would you have someone asking, is this exclusive info? You just told us because Steam says coming soon. Now you know what coming soon means, everyone.
Well, I didn't say the date exactly, but but I have one in mind.
It's not a lie.
It's a fact. So
it's just baby.
Do you feel that roller drama or roller drama could help people, especially in the West, that like a percentage of players that are not used to visual novels, because it's a genre that got bigger and grew in Japan, that it's gaining lots of players outside of Japan. Do you think this kind of approach on how to tell interactive story might easily resound with, for example, European or American players?
Mm.
I'm very curious about it. Let's say I posted on Reddit the link on the Reddit group specialized on visual novels, and they really liked it. Which on Reddit is almost impossible. so so I'm hopeful. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't. So let's say visual novels in video games at least have a very specific language.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're not using that language. So in terms of graphic design and
Yeah.
in terms of interaction. So for us, in a sense, from the point of view of an experience, there's a lot of a visual novel here. From the point, but so I don't know how much ideological people playing visual novels would be on this aspect.
Yeah.
Usually, I must say that players are very quite open-minded in my experience, and more than publishers or other audience. So I'm hopeful.
Because
Yes,
usually you
it's a
have
hope.
some tropes in terms of visual novel that the specific public that likes visual novels that they follow the art direction, the more Nipponic anime like art direction, and at the same time the themes or the tone of the visual novels. But you're starting to see some games like yours that actually use the tools of storytelling, visual storytelling, and interactive storytelling from visual novels, and rethinking them with different art and narrative approaches. So, are you confident that that might be one of those cases where um, you might actually not only conquer that kind of the group of players that usually play visual novels, but also the other ones that might be interested in the story that you want to tell?
So what I've seen and from the games where I got inspired from, I think that indie narrative games are sort of creating their own audience, which may
Mm-hmm.
be, in a way, it's a partially intersection with visual novel players, but it's also, I think, characterized on its own. So I think there is a growing. It's not a huge audience, but there is an audience that really likes storytelling in games, and there have been so many games experimenting in the last 10 years in,
Mm-hmm.
and the level of quality and also of mechanical graphical innovation. So instead of narrative being somehow an additional level for something that is based on exploration and mechanics, basically, and then narrative is somehow just something that links on it. We've seen all sorts of experimentation there, and with different genres, from strategic games, conquering games, adventure. So all kinds of narrative has taken so many forms and so many interesting stuff, even political games, games about war that don't have war, or things like this. And so we tried. So what we tried is to follow, go into this flow. I don't know if we're at the, it will be the player judging whether we have sufficient quality there. It also depends on the means, and in our case, really really micro group of actually two developers and collaborators. So but like, for example, we try to, like, all the dialogues are not just static dialogue. They have a direction, they have
Mm-hmm.
camera movement, expressions, they have all character feelings, and we have this sidebar that tries to give you feedback, and things happen there. We can integrate images, sounds, effects, stuff, and so So yeah, we're mostly, this is, so in a way we are more looking at what other indie narrative games have been done more than focusing on a market. In fact, from marketing, from those who believe that there is marketing strategy in games, which is debatable, but so making a games that does not clearly fit the genre, so it's between sports and visual novels, is in a way the worst possible thing that you can do, because you won't convince a sport publisher, you won't convince visual
No.
novel publishers,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what happened, in fact.
We were
And the
talking about
fact that,
crazy people, so yeah.
yeah, and the fact that we have really, yes, funny but also very serious topic in the game is another thing that publishers don't like at all. And
By the way, I'm sorry because this, since I'm trying to multitask and having a conversation and playing the game at the same time, I am kind of lost in this moment.
sorry, yeah, because probably all the hints now are gone. I think you should wait a bit, and I mean, the all the hints now are, they were on the shrink tried. Yeah, now go into Portia's room.
Yeah, because she left, and maybe I can find the stuffed cat.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
here it
There,
is.
Ante.
Now let's go to
Yes.
Anne.
Get
You know,
so you already got it. I didn't need to tell you.
yeah. I think I just needed to focus a bit because I couldn't remember what should I be doing. Okay, here I go talking to Anne. Sasha just said something, and I think it applies pretty well to roller drama. In a way, conveying it as a visual novel is reducing it. I think it doesn't tell or doesn't explain or doesn't convey what the game is. And he was comparing with Persona games
Mm.
because it has heavy visual novel elements, but nobody says that the Persona game is a visual novel. And I think it's the same thing applies to roller drama. You are using the tools that visual novels developed, but you're doing something else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a nice, very prestigious comparison, but yeah. See, I like the expressions in that the characters take while speaking here, for example. Okay, and here I think with Verena did. I mean, the dialogues here and the exchanges. This is also something maybe a bit different from visual novel. They're all very short, so it's yes, there are many of them, but let's say we and there are also these sort of paradoxical elements to the dialogues, with this fact that you're bringing this silly strange stuff, and there, more you will play, more you will find,
Mm-hmm.
and more complex it will get in this sort of catastrophic failures. Also in the introduction, there are some characters like Bobby the policeman, who's clearly not very smart, and that you have to trick in so many ways, and there again Victoria did so funny just to watch him, the faces, and he believes that he's so smart and good looking, and the girls, they tease him so much. And sometimes I hope the players will have fun at least with that. And
Something really nice
yeah.
that Vittoria did with her artwork is the fact that you can tell a lot about the character's personality by two things when you enter their room. The first one is the actual room, if it's messy, if it's everything is tied up, but also the way they sit.
Yes.
It's true.
Yes. Well, maybe if we reach the like the before and after match meeting,
Mm-hmm.
also there you can see stuff. And we must also, I think, say something about Pino, who did
Yes.
my partner in crime, that he developed all the animations and all the UI of the game, all the
All
effects
the
that you see.
environments.
And he also designed the rooms, and this was another beautiful
Yes.
thing in working on this game. And this is why I dragged already Vittoria also in our next game, and I'm trying to. I would try
next
to
game.
keep
Ca-
exactly the same.
Can we have just
steam.
a little idea what the next game will be?
Oh yes, it's no secret. It will be called Becoming Saint, and you will be a young woman in 14th century Italy. So the setting is the setting of the Name of the Rose, and
Yeah,
you
and
will
you're going
try
to be a
to.
nun?
Not exactly, but let's say the guiding a heretic movement,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be stuff to be done. And of course, we are choosing very safe themes. All publishers will love games which mocking religion. I'm pretty sure there will be all kind of requests for publishing our game. So
If
And
there's
this
a
coming
concept
from
that provokes,
our
Pino,
both countries are.
Pietro will follow it.
Oh, sorry. What are we
Fine.
saying, Vittoria? I interrupted you.
And if there's something that permits Pietro to provoke something,
Yeah,
something important, Pietro will follow it. So
I was
this
just
is fun
imagining
about
this
him.
because I think both our countries are pretty similar in many things.
Yeah, I
Many-
believe
yes,
so.
And one of them is how highly Catholic our countries
exactly, exactly.
well, in your case, you also have an enclave that is the center of the Catholic Church. So
This little detail.
courageous, yeah.
Well, the Pope will be in the game, so
Both our countries are similar in drama. I don't know if our countries are. Someone is saying that our country is similar in drama. I think there are too many things that Italy and Portugal look alike.
yeah. I was for the first time in Portugal this summer in
Did you like
Lisbon,
it?
and I was completely blown away. Completely blown. I'm pretty sure it's the most beautiful town I ever been to, Lisbon. It's incredible. It's just incredible. The sea, the ocean, the variety, the architecture, the people so nice, everything. I mean, it's amazing. You just. Why did I wait so long to visit? I have no idea. I mean,
Someone is
it's
saying that it's
incredible.
hard to come to Portugal and then go back home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I was thinking that all the time. I just want to stay here.
Someone is saying that Napoli felt like home to Cami, our one of our viewers, because it felt similar to Porto and Lisbon.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I see that. I see that. Well, Napoli is it's Italy, but it has a very strong, specific cultural tradition of their own, and it's a very interesting place. Also from point of literature, poetry, art, it's amazing place.
You know, I have to go. I have this idea. In the next few years, I will go to Sardinia.
Not bad.
And I'll tell you why. Because I did my ancestry, genetic profile, and I was really amazed because that percentage might mean that maybe a grandfather or something was from there, because it was my second highest genetic profile was from Sardinia,
Okay.
and I was
Super nice place.
what? Sorry.
It's a super nice place. It's
Yeah?
really where. Yes, I really love Sardinia.
And
And
it was amazing because
And people
Sardinia
from
has
Sardinia, yeah.
Sardinia also has like Naples, but it has a very specific. It's like a country of its own. So, and it even has a language of its own.
maybe because it's an island, it kept its culture
Completely.
more
Yes.
intact.
Yes.
If I want
That's-
if I'm allowed to say this.
Like Corsica for France.
Yeah,
like the same.
you know, 2 years ago we had the finalist. Maybe you know the studio Santa Ragione. They developed
Yeah.
Saturnalia, and
Yeah.
the game happens in Sardinia.
Yeah. It
and-
came out very just now.
Yeah, and when I got my genetic profile, I actually sent a message to Pietro, the developer of Saturnalia, and I was telling this. Okay, so I loved Saturnalia. Now I have to visit. But you know something curious? I know that when I was watching, let me just finish the sentence before diving into the sports management. If
Yes.
not, I'm going to be really distracted.
That's more committing. Yes.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, because I noticed that the representation of Sardinia in the game, and from photos that I've seen, it really reminded me of lots of places in Portugal.
Mm.
Yeah, because it's also like lots of churches, an old town, small houses built around the church. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Probably outside of Lisbon, in a way.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
It will feel like home, probably.
So why could I be a character from JoJo and no one would bat an eye? I can't understand that. Okay. Oh, it's from a character. Okay. Those references. So we've been playing the narrative part, but there's this second section where we're gonna learn what roller derby is about and how to manage our team.
Yes, and in the actual game, we already inserted a new tutorial, which opens at the end of the jam, telling you what you could have done more to play.
Okay.
Two things. So because of we like in Cologne, we had in Gamescom we had many people testing it, playing it, and some of them. Most of them very narrative interested in narrative part, and they had some difficulties, of course, with the sport. So I think it's already in the demo the fact that you can autoplay the second and the third jam with a sort of silly autoplay part, a bit like in Football Manager, so that it eases for them to play. But in the new update, they will also get at the end of a jam, you will get a detailed feedback. I think, Vittoria, you haven't seen this yet. You will get a detailed feedback on what you could have done to improve your gameplay. So I think this was a very good idea to suggest moves, because in fact there's a lot of stuff you can do, and if you're not used to playing sports games, everything happens very fast. There's strategy and real time and use of energy and so on and so on. So
did you consult a lot with players, or how deep was your research around the actual sport?
Well, and this kind of stuff, I'm a very let's say a bit nerdy. So I studied the rules of roller derby quite in detail, and because also there's some very fascinating stuff in the rules. So, like for example, something that you understand by playing, but it's very hard to explain because it's a sort of theoretical context. So there is while you're playing, there is always a virtual center of gameplay, okay, around which everything revolves, and it's an abstract point which the referee, while they're playing, has to compute in his mind all the time, and it's determined by the group of closer, by the most numerous group of blockers staying together. And anything that is more than 3 meters from there is not in play, apart from the two jammers that are running around. Okay? So, for example, this rule, this is why you see that all the blockers, which are all the players that don't have a star on the helmet, they always have to keep together. And if one of them, by fighting with one of the jammers, gets far from the group, you will see that she immediately rolls back closer to the group, because otherwise, and you see it because there's a little ring below her, she's not in play and she cannot stop you. Okay, this is an actual rule of roller derby. What this ensures is that there is always on the track a place where there is a fight, okay, and it's not many small fights happening here and there, okay, which would completely break the game, because the game is basically there is always a scrum. So this is a big fight in some place on the track, and the two jammers have to go around and try to pass through this pack, so-called pack of players, okay, and this makes it's like the core of the game. And in fact, in playing, what you have to do is learn techniques to somehow make it easier for you to pass and make it harder for the other player to pass. Okay, so in fact this game, it's very complex to understand in a way, because it's always two matches going at the same time. In fact, the two teams are both scoring, can both score at the same time. So you can think of, if you think of the jammer as a ball, okay, it's a ball that goes around. It's like football with two balls. So the two balls are always going round, and every time one of the ball passes the blockers, it's scoring. Okay, but
Pietro,
we have two balls.
Sorry to interrupt. Why does the usual representation of roller derby, or at least in movies or series, the teams are constantly rollerblading around, like the entire teams?
So if you look at a flat track, so first of all, most people have never seen roller derby. What they've seen is roller ball. So a game played on a track with a ball, with an actual ball that you have to pass through something or score. Okay, but that has nothing to do with roller derby. Roller derby, there's no balls, and so this is why. And people have seen people skating on rings, and they're sort of racing each other. Now, this is not how roller derby works. Okay, in roller derby, yes, the two jammers are racing each other, but that's not the point. The point for them is to survive the full contact fight that is happening at every time they go around. This is why flat track. This is why roller derby is such a hard sport. It's not just a speed sport; it's a full contact sport. Where so you see there the autoplay next jam. You did it. Okay, you did it.
Yeah.
So this this will throw dices, but it will consider how good you have been playing up to now. Okay. Oh, you've been very good. There's a difficulty level in the game, which so again, wow, you're a very good player.
You're just saying that.
I mean, the score that you got was very good. Anyway,
but we're always when I think about, well, apparently roller ball, I always envision both teams running around the track constantly, and how we're playing like this, it almost reminds you of rugby.
Yeah, exactly. It's a sort of rugby. You can think about it. Okay, but we don't have a ball, so it's the body of the jammer that somehow has to go through. And sometimes if roller derby matches if you go on YouTube and you watch top championship, they're very beautiful to watch. Okay, and it's because so sometimes the jammer just jumps on top of the other somehow, on the side or almost on top of them, throws her body in order to go through, to pass through the pack and score. And you can do this in roller dramas, the jumping stuff. If you have speed and jump and you do it in the right moment, you will jump through them and pass and score. So this, and so I see something I don't like. I mean, is the fact that just having a game where people are skating is not a game about the roller derby. I mean, it's just people going around skating does not make a sport by itself. Okay, and so I tried really to stay close, at least to the core set of the game, in order to express how it works. And so this, but on one side. On the other side, being a single coder, I'm not Electronic Arts, so which are thousands of coders, and so I could implement only, let's say, a subset of the rules. But I hope it will still come through
So
as a very specific
in,
sport.
in terms of rules, a player that is not the jammer uh, can't actually score.
No,
Okay.
no, they're only for stopping the other jammer and for easing the passage of your own. In fact, you have commands that make a wall of them. So you wall, there's stepping back, like again trying to get in the way as much as possible. But there is also scatter, which makes your own blocker disperse, so to make it easier for you to go through. And but reaching, let's say, a decent sport roller derby sport emulator game was a huge amount of work. I mean, it's talking years, because we first tried to do it turn based,
Yeah, but it
and the
lost the
spirit of
dynamics.
you lost the dynamic. Then we tried to make it only real time, and it was completely incomprehensible. Nobody understood what's happening. It's
Yeah.
just people running around,
Mhm.
and you could not listen. So now this is like the fourth or fifth prototype with different mechanics. Now it's sort of, we hope that the fact that it's real time, but anytime you can stop it and just say, okay, what's happening there? Okay. And you can take any time, as much time as you want. The time is not running. Pick your strategy, do your strategy, and again go back into crazy real time stuff, and so on. Somehow seems to work. And
By the
and this
way,
is it, because we have finished
in,
the
in terms of
development.
in terms of narrative, I have a grim question for you. I don't know if you thought about it, because you decided that your game would have a positive tone for it, but all the characters have a self-esteem um, score, if I can say so. Did you consider it to go in a grim way where eventually your actions could lead to one of your team members slash friends to be so depressed that they could end their own lives?
Okay, no, in the sense that in the beginning we hint something
Hmm.
about depression, you may have noticed, but we don't go there.
Yeah, because it's
But
Portia that is telling how some events in her childhood actually scarred her for life.
also,
Hmm.
because each of them has these bios, and as I notice in the documentaries, the players not very easy lives, let's say. Okay, but what you have in the game is that the team. So this is how you lose the game. So this is a game where you can lose, and it's not that hard to lose,
Yeah.
in the sense that the team collapses. Okay, so
Hmm.
if the self-esteem, yeah, so you will see in the full version this cannot happen in the demo. That's why the demo is a bit also misleading in a way for this kind of game. So here you have, it's 10 chapters, the whole playthrough, but to get to the end and keep the team together until the end, it's non-trivial. Okay, so if the results of the matches, relationship between them and you, and self-esteem, if they go below a certain threshold, the team collapses, disperse, and you have to replay.
How do you measure the
I
boundaries for this? How specific events affect them? Like, did you unbalance the fact that the sports side and the personal emotional side affect them? Do they lower or increase in different speeds or amounts?
Yes, it's been balanced, but what's most important for us is the fact that you can monitor this all the time. So
Hmm.
if you see the famous score on the lower left, and you open the panels with the relationship, you see why. And even you can also see the sort of achievement list, achievement like, but it's not.
Yeah.
There is much more stuff there than
Yeah.
respect to the classical Steam achievements. You can see how the score evolved from start to end. Okay, and so you can see how this will collapse. And in fact, the ending, if you lose control, we will show you all the episodes, like a little slideshow of your
Mm-hmm.
gameplay. We show all the episode and how the score changed and what brought you there, and then you have a final dialogue with the shrink, which is interesting character, which may say something if you have time. But anyway, so this, what is more important for is all this, you can see it. And also I think this is important for narrative games which are not open world like ours. You're not forced to replay the game from the start, which would be incredibly frustrating
You have
because
like
we don't have,
checkpoints, chapter
we
checkpoints.
have chapters, we call it
Okay.
chapters. So if you like reach did the first 7 chapters, which may be like 10 hours of gameplay, so not 2 hours, okay.
Okay.
You can restart from the last chapter that you finished, you can pick. And
I
so
know
maybe
I asked a pretty grim question, so I saved the more brighter question for after that. You said you were diving into some serious themes in terms of the connection between the players. Is romance going to be one of them? Okay.
well, I mean, these are very young girls. I mean,
Oh,
pretty.
okay.
Very strong personality, of course.
Okay. Okay. Well, Pietro and Vittoria, amazing. Can you remind me how many people are developing the game? Sorry, Pietro, you said in the beginning, but it's you. It's the visual. Sorry, the narrative designer, which is called Valeria.
No, so the developers of the game are Pino, Panzarella,
Yeah.
and myself.
Oh, yeah.
So we are doing the coding and the animation and stuff. Then we have, for the character design and illustration, we have Vittoria. Then for the game writing, so the plot, the narrative design, we did together, Verena Kyratzes
Verena,
and
sorry.
myself. She's a known game writer, but then she wrote or rewrote all the dialogues. And then we have a musician, Francesco Arcuri, who did the whole soundtrack. But again, Pino did the sound design and integration with the audio. And I think this is the whole team. So
And
it's
when can we expect to buy the companion graphic novel?
well, we'll see, but we did talk about it, didn't we, Vittoria?
Of course you did.
It would be fantastic.
It will be fantastic, or did you say will or would be?
Would be.
Would.
More of a would be.
I was trying to catch you there.
So if it's a fantastic success, please love it, for sure it will be. So it depends on the players.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Make it a fantastic success. Tell
Well,
your friends.
one thing that nobody can deny, it's that roller drama. It's really unique. There's nothing like this. I think Pietro, I don't know. I know you explained the backstory and how you decided to go for roller derby instead of, for example, football. Maybe football could be easier in terms of resounding, because football is the king sport. At least in Portugal, we call it the desporto rei. Like, it's really the biggest sport in the world, and it is for a great amount of countries in our globe. But at the same time, going into roller derby actually makes you stand out from the crowd. And everything else, it's really an amazingly looking game, because Vitoria's art speaks for itself. Um, and I'm really curious about the development of the characters' relationships, and if they go into romance, or how effective will I be as a manager to manage the team and also the relationships and the connection between the players, because I believe that's something you were saying, that football in the older days were different. Now it's a business, and I
Yes.
think you have to matter less in terms of how people connect, because in the end it doesn't really matter, because
Yes.
you are acquired for 2, 3, 10,
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
100 million euros, and it's just
And
money that
also,
talks.
who cares about the personality of the player? It's for that
Yeah.
I think that it's super fascinating, the roller derby game, because it's super bounded to every player, every personality. Just only imagine the amount of personalization of yourself, yourself as a player on the track, like the outfit, the name that you create for
Mm-hmm.
yourself, the name of the team. There's a layer of irony inside,
Mm-hmm.
and it's super fascinating. All people are different, comes from different worlds, and they make a team together, and it's. I think you cannot talk about roller derby without talk about the people inside roller derby, with their problems, their words, their peculiarities, their talents, and um, their words. Yes, so it's
Let
super
me go even
fascinating.
further, because we were talking about comics, and I I can infer from what Pietro said that he's a fellow sitcom lover as I am. So let's also hope that maybe if roller drama gets well connected and well talked about. Did you imagine having a series around the game, because the characters are really pretty fleshed out?
It would be
Yes,
fantastic.
but no.
Hmm? Wait, would you say no
So
to something like that?
Written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Sorry, Vittoria, what did you say? Sorry.
Written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Hey, who knows?
Occasionally.
yeah, we're really aiming for really feasible targets, but no, no, in the sense, so it would be wonderful. I think I have an idea for a DLC. So again, if the game does decently, we could go into that. But I must say, uh, for m- for my creative, from my creative kind of thing, I think more roller drama as a finished, say,
Okay.
thing. And with games and narrative, there are so many things that you want to explore,
Mm-hmm.
that in fact I can't wait to start exploring something different. So
Yeah.
personally, that's I would, and I've been working on this for so long and so intensely. For 2.5 years, I worked like crazy hours, even though one should always say no, we don't do crunching, we do
Yeah.
but we've been working like
You
crazy on
just
this
want to
game.
dive into becoming saint
Yeah.
as soon as possible. Okay. Pietro, Vittoria, it was really amazing. It was our longest streaming session. And yes, I'm just breaking the time that we have available, because there was an empty slot and the conversation was really amazing. And everybody knows that I like to talk a lot. So this happens. That's why I have a 4 hour podcast weekly. Uh, at least one of them. It's because I want to talk a lot. And the conversation was amazing with Pietro and Vittoria. Amazing conversation that I think we should uh, do again after the event finishes. If you guys are available, let's talk about the comic Italian comic market. Let's talk about the new game. Let's talk about how roller drama is getting received, and we're more than
Absolutely.
available for that. And thank you for submitting roller drama. I think we're proud of having your game as part
well,
of IndieX, honestly.
well, Ricardo, you're an
Thank you
amazing
very
host, I
much.
must say. I mean, in the sense you give us so much space and interesting questions, and well, no, Vittoria, this was amazing.
And I
Yes.
also talk a
Thank you
lot.
very much. Yes, but it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh,
Thank you
thank you.
for the nice questions, and it was super pleasant.
Well,
and the competence, which is important
Yes.
too.
oh, thank you, thank you. Please go play the roller drama demo that is on the Steam page that Sir Becca's and Sessions have been copy pasting every few minutes the link to the Steam URL. Please go there, buy the game, because you certainly will love it as much as we've been loving the game. And then again, Pietro, Vittoria, thank you. And
Thank you.
from me, let's don't go anywhere, or at least you can go, because we have 45 minutes till the next streaming session. Thanks again, Pietro, Vittoria, and well, good luck with roller drama.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye bye.